What would you think if I told you that someday soon, robots will perform IVF? Or that will be able to take cells from your body, turn them into sperm or eggs, and give you genetic children even if you are infertile? What if I said the time is not far off when sex is kept for fun, and technology routinely used for reproduction? Perhaps you'd view me with the kind of suspicion leveled at my late colleagues, Bob Edwards and Patrick Steptoe, when they created the first test tube baby in 1978. Since then, 8 million IVF babies have been born worldwide, but this now commonplace practice was once viewed with derision and fear. People accused us of playing God and taking science too far. As an IVF pioneer of 40 years and head of CARE, the largest IVF group in the UK, I've been lucky enough to experience it all where fertility is concerned. I worked alongside the fathers of IVF and went on to spearhead research into male infertility and the use of donor eggs. Now, however, I have my sights set on the future. And what an exciting future it is. IVF is now about far more than giving infertile people babies. It's part of a web of technologies that allow for the removal of unhealthy genes, the curing of older children with terminal illnesses via so-called savior siblings, and the enabling of women to carry babies to full term who couldn't previously do so. But there are even bolder prospects on the horizon. Take robots conducting IVF. Not too long ago it would have been the stuff of science fiction, but modern robotics only requires economies of scale for this to actually happen. And it will be a welcome development because the fact is, although we have more data now to help us, the whole of IVF is still blighted by inconsistencies, not only in how embryos are graded but also in how they're implanted. It sounds terrible to say, but a patient is lucky if she has a good obstetrician and unlucky if she doesn't. A robot, however, never has a bad day. Nor does it sneeze or need to pee at an inopportune time, or have to pick up the phone to his or her spouse between cases because there's an urgent problem at home. Its treatment will be consistent and it will achieve better results in consequence. Because of the global development and need for IVF, I'd say the prospect of a robot extracting eggs, injecting sperm, selecting the most viable embryos and then transferring them is feasible, if not imperative. Of course, even the notion itself is bound to provoke outcry. This aversion to risk has led to what I call the paradox of IVF: to develop something innovative that will help people in a way that's not been done before, we need to do new things. These new things may not work, and they might even offend people. The regulator doesn't like that uncertainty. But how can we know if they work on humans, unless we try them on humans? You can see the catch-22 situation I've worked in for most of my career. Here's a thought. In regulated countries such as the UK, IVF couldn't be invented today. The regulatory bodies that govern medical research would forbid it. This was confirmed recently by a senior member of our own regulatory organization, the Human Fertilization and Embryology Association, who told me that if Steptoe and Edwards had been practicing now, they would have been stopped a long time before Louise Brown was born. Patrick would have been reported to the General Medical Council for conducting work that people didn't agree with, and repeatedly failing. Of course, regulation is necessary, but innovation in science involves taking risks. When we leap into the unknown, it goes without saying that we don't know what the exact outcome will be. As long as all parties know this and the aim is worthwhile, this is something we have to accept. To push back the boundaries of medical science takes courage and a dogged willingness to keep going against all odds. Ethical controversies are intrinsically bound up with IVF. You could say they're in its DNA. Even before Louise Brown was born, Bob and Patrick found themselves defending their work from prominent people who denounced it as evil or misguided: doctors, scientists, religious leaders, politicians, and commentators of all hues. And criticism from the same groups has been part and parcel of my work, too. The matter of working on embryos is particularly inflammatory, with some claiming that destroying embryos, even if they're not viable, is akin to murder. I've had to push ahead with new research without knowing if it will work, and in the face of fierce opposition. Nowadays IVF is almost entirely accepted except from within strict religious quarters. But I'm sure there will also be stiff opposition to my next ambition to delay the menopause. No doubt people will picture silver-haired octogenarians cradling newborns and react vehemently against it. But hear me out. If you are, or know anyone who is, going through the menopause, you'll no doubt be aware of the miserable symptoms it can induce. There are also health risks built into this period, such as cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis. By extracting a piece of ovarian tissue when a woman is younger and transplanting it back again later, we now know we can put off the menopause by at least 10 years. Ovaries are a bit like kidneys. Women don't need to. And if a strip is removed from one, it doesn't do the work of the ovary any harm, and the thousands of eggs contained in the removed strip can be frozen along with the ovarian tissue.